in the middle.
I wanted to, by the way, mention, this is Bruce Gratz. Bruce is our Vice President for Institutional Advancement. So things like the Bethany Fund and growing the endowment, those are the kind of things his department does.
Gentleman in the middle, intervention. Thank you.
Do you think that by playing this strictly as a numbers game, you lose out on a lot of intangibles, such as the goodwill of the students and the faculty and people who've been supporting those programs for such a long time? And that's difficult to quantify, but it's something that should be considered and isn't able to be seen on just a spreadsheet.
So what's your suggestion instead? I mean, we really had to reduce expenses. So what do we get? That's what it all comes back to. We really had to reduce expenses.
Young lady in the back, please.
So we were talking about cutting all these things. My question, I guess, is, did you consider cutting, not necessarily whole sports programs, but cutting back funding for said sports programs before you thought about cutting all these other programs?
And in that, so we asked every department of the campus last year-long study, every department got met with, and they were asked, what in your area can you do, okay? So we got suggestions like, well, we can go to Costco once a month and get all of our paper at Costco. We'll just get a big truck, you know. So all kinds of ideas came up. So so we're not publishing all the little things every department came up with, but the athletic department cut their budget by $15,000. Okay?
I can say my department has an increase in budget for next year, but it doesn't equal the increase in inflation over the last year. So we're cutting back in that particular area, and with the Bethany Fund, we're asked to grow that 20%.
So every year, to make this 5-year budget work, we have to grow the Bethany Fund by $50,000 every single year. Okay, that's
And admissions is asked to maintain or increase enrollment as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Knowing we're facing an enrollment crisis. So, one way in the middle in the back of the sweatshirt.
So earlier you said that you're only cutting like $250,000, hoping that we make up for the other $250,000.
With the other 5 strategies, yeah.
Yeah. So if we don't make up that other quarter, do you have like a plan of what other programs you would cut next, or what are you hoping to do if we don't make that other quarter?
I'm trusting God is going to lead Bethany forward. In the 1930s, Dr. Ildeshacker, you all have heard of Dr. Ildeshacker, they had years in the Great Depression where he had to tell the faculty and staff, don't cash your checks, they're not worth anything. He offered to pay some people in potatoes. So if God could get us through the 1930s, I think he's going to be with us.
We have an auxiliary that's attached to Bethany. Many of you have heard about that auxiliary, but they used to be called the Bait and Varnish Program, right? The Bait and Varnish. Because they would come in the summer and do maintenance. That was their contribution. So
I think we're at 5 minutes left.
right here.
Me? Or
Yep.
So, when I drive to Bethany from my home, I pass a billboard that says Bethany values me. That's coming in Mankato. I'm going to be honest, and I apologize, this comes off as one of but it's how I'm feeling right now. You guys need to change that slogan. I don't feel valued, especially as a theater major. I came to this school mainly because of the theater program, because it's a huge part of who I am, and I was told while I was going through the process of picking a college that Bethany is the school that's supposed to value me and help me with my talents and my abilities, and theater is a huge part of that. And now in my first year, it's been cut. It is very disappointing, and it is very hurtful. I'm not saying that it wasn't a hard decision, but I'm telling you how I feel.
I understand. I feel badly too.
And it hurts future students. You said several times, this doesn't necessarily affect us, but it affects people we know and we love, and it affects the culture of this place that we know and love. And I think we're all very empathetic people in this room, and we care very much about the incoming freshmen. I would argue that If it didn't impact current students, then we wouldn't all be here in this room.
We got a hand raised, a straight and swear that arm's gonna fall off.
So right now, what we've been hearing a lot is that every other Christian college is getting rid of their history programs, of their theater programs. Either that or their programs are dying. Bethel has cut their theater program, WLC's theater program is crumbling. Why are we actually conforming to that, and why should we not rise up to the occasion when there is interest in a growing Christian theater education? Now people are left to go to state colleges where the shows are presumptuous and programs will demoralize them. Why would we not try to set the standard to have a Christian theater program when that is falling in so many other places and we can capitalize on that revenue?
I totally understand what you're saying. And I just simply say, what are we gonna do? We have a big deficit. And so we had to make tough decisions. The good news is the whole theater production calendar continues.
Yes, but if you're saying that we're supposed to get that full theater production value, how is that going to happen when we don't actually have students learning the skills in order to build sets, in order to build costumes, in order to basically build a program? Even if we have the same production value, we're not gonna have the skills to build a production, to do a production. The productions are gonna go downscale each year. They're gonna start sucking more and more.
Well, the 2.5 full-time people are still there. And I would guess that they're gonna be coaching up the cast and stage crews.
Right here in front of them. Go ahead.
It's the full time.
Yeah, those 2.5 people are still there, and I'm very grateful for that. I just wanted to say, because it's pretty remarkable how special. I'm in the theater program, but I was in speech in high school. I know about everything else, and I know they say the same thing, but how special it is. I came in here with a speech therapy major. I picked what was practical and what I thought would give me the most money. I found out immediately that that isn't what God called me to do. He called me to use my gifts in a way that will bring love to everyone, bring emotion, and I decided that was theater. I wasn't able to, I'm trying to declare it right now, which is kind of a scary situation. But yeah, Bethany Theater taught me that. It taught me that there's something so incredibly special about being able to do what God wants. And you can feel it when you're doing it.
The arts aren't extracurriculars.
They're called the arts for a reason.
And it takes to see extracurriculars.
One more question, Simon, go ahead. Yep, you-
Just before I ask, there's still a lot more questions. Where can we pose those questions afterwards?
So if it's academic in nature, Dr. Lowry, myself, I'll hang around.
All right. Anyway, we have had record enrollment for multiple years in a row now. The student body is
Yeah, you're right.
the student body is only growing, and yet we're still losing money. How is that? Do we lose money with each new student?
Yes. Why? We try to be the most affordable school out there. You guys aware of that? So compared to private colleges, we're very affordable. And so what every college in America is doing, because people in society are saying, oh, you don't need to go to college, it costs too much, there's plenty of great jobs out there, right, without a college degree. So what every college is doing is discounting, does that make sense? Like, here's the tuition, but we're only gonna charge you this much. And I don't think any of you in the room are paying the full tuition price. You're probably paying half or less of the stated tuition. Some of you in this room I know don't pay anything. So we are we are trying to be so affordable, maybe that's our problem. Maybe if we would charge more, we could pay our bills. But we're not gonna just try to jack the tuition on you guys either. So that is the response to your question. So this is the first year we're close to breaking even, because we have such a great enrollment. We're almost breaking even.
So would higher enrollments make
That's the
us?
plan, so we need to keep growing. And then maybe over time, we will have a reserve fund to do more things with it. Does that make sense?
We're at our time, President Pfeiffer, so
Okay.
it's your choice.
So I will stay here, but I know some of you probably have classes to go to.
Before people pass and leave, can I just say thank you to everybody? So thank you so much. On behalf of the planning department, on behalf of the student body, on behalf of everybody, thank you.
All right, so if you want to ask questions, sit down, and I'm going to stay right here. But please sit down rather than gathering around.
It's a good thing that it moves.